our freedom away. They won't take our freedom. They won't take our freedom away.
If you've been watching VGT for the last couple of years, you've probably noticed something important. Our opinions haven't stayed frozen in time. They've evolved on a lot of subjects. And that's not an accident. That's what happens when you actually study instead of just repeating slogans. Over the last year, we deliberately spent serious time on the Kybalion. We ran watch parties. We revisited from different angles. And if you caught those recent sessions, hard as this may be to believe, I mostly kept my mouth shut, which, if you know me, should tell you something right there. Because even while we are studying it, even while giving it fair shake, something never quite sat right. Not in a dramatic way, not in a burn it all down way, just quiet, persistent signal in the background saying that there's something off here. And that discomfort didn't come from ignorance. It came from staying with the material long enough to notice the seams, to feel where things stopped lining up with lived ethics, grounded reality, and actual moral accountability. Growth isn't about pretending certainty. It's about having the discipline to sit with doubt long enough to clarify, for clarity to emerge. And that's where this conversation really begins. I keep hearing Mark talk about the Kybalion like it's the bedrock of reality. Like if you internalize the principles, everything aligns. And I keep waiting for the moment where I can ask real questions, historical, ethical practices, and that moment just never seems to come. Because the Kybalion isn't ancient. It isn't even Hermetic scripture. It's a 1909 New Thought text written by some guy during a period when Western occultism was actively remixing Eastern ideas, stripping them of context, and relabeling them as universal law. That already confuses me, but then there's this other thing that really trips me up. Mark is openly hostile towards Eastern traditions because they're religious. He criticizes devotion, ritual, lineage, reverence for teachers. He warns, often correctly, about belief systems that ask for obedience instead of understanding. Okay, fair enough. But then, as a student, I'm expected to show what feels like an awful lot of religious devotion to Mark and the great work. You're not supposed to question his framework. You're not supposed to challenge his sources. You're not supposed to interrogate the authority of the teacher. You're supposed to repeat, defend, and spread the material. And I don't understand how that's meaningfully different than the thing that we're actually criticizing. Because if Eastern traditions are dismissed outright for being religious, but the great work still expects loyalty, silence, and repetition, then what exactly changed? The language? It starts to feel like religion is being rejected in form, but quietly recreated in function. And then there's the eighth principle. Mark doesn't just teach the Kybalion, he adds to it. So now I'm really confused. On one hand, I'm told these 7 principles are immutable laws of reality. On the other hand, we're allowed to patch the system because something essentially is missing. And I agree, something is missing. Ethics, care, non-harm. But that just raises another question I can't ask out loud. If the framework needs a moral retrofit to work safely, why is it treated like foundational natural law to begin with? And again, as a student, there's nowhere for me to unpack that. Comments are off, paywalls are up, questions go unanswered, Q&As evaporate. And when I raise these questions in the groups around Mark, I get blocked, banned, or put out on timeout by Mark's yes men. So I end up at a dead end, holding a system that rejects religion while quietly demanding religious style adherence from the people studying it. Eastern traditions, real ones, never separated metaphysics from morality. ethics weren't an optional add-on. You don't need to invent an extra principle to remind people not to cause harm, and you don't need to silence students for asking why. So that's where I land. I'm not mad. I'm just confused. Confused by why religion is rejected in theory, recreated in practice, and insulated from questioning, especially when questioning is supposed to be the whole point of waking up. How's it going, everyone?
Good, dude. Yeah. It's funny because Mark's like, I'm not your guru. Dude, I know that because a guru, no matter how cool they are or how famous they are, would explain himself. If you tell him that you disagree with him, he doesn't block you or kick you out of the venue. He said, what do you disagree about? And then you could tell him and he'd be like, oh, I wasn't speaking in that, so I agree with you in that regard. And a guru will explain himself. Guru means etymologically heavy. Someone's heavy with knowledge. Someone who's heavy with knowledge and transparent doesn't feel the need to hide things from people. And at the same time, they won't teach higher level metaphysics to people who are bereft of morality. And they won't even consider someone's morality until they find out that this person's devoted to something that is a power greater than themselves, that they believe that they have an immortal soul and that they will be held accountable for what they do no matter what. If someone doesn't have that qualification, a guru will not teach them anything other than say, you have an immortal soul and you need to be ethical.
Yeah, it's like the guy we've been watching that you recommended we watch, the New York Buddhist guy.
Oh, Swami Sarvapriyananda from the Vedanta
He's
Society.
so dope.
He's genius,
He's
dude.
cool.
He's based.
And like people
He's
ask
so
him,
smart.
they try
He
and
could
bust
literally
him
hurt
all the
us,
time
our
with their
brains.
questions. Yeah, they try and bust
Yeah.
him with questions all the time, asking him pretty tricky stuff, and he's just like, he just smiles and he's got a good answer, and he's a very good representative of all that stuff. Super cute dude.
He's the one who made it, like, I guess, really clear to me. And he was suggested by someone in Mark's class. Like, I had never heard of him. I've heard of the Ramakrishna mission, but I never heard of him. And he said, I think you should check this guy out. And I said, well, I've heard of his lineage, but I have my questions about it. And he said, it's still the closest thing you can find to the absolute truth that's out there.
Oh, wow.
And the rest will probably be,
I agree.
within and situational. But he had people saying, like, all kinds of questions, and he wouldn't just answer it in a way that emphasizes his relevance as a teacher. So if somebody said, like, if I have dedication to this form and I'm a member of this path, do I need to adopt your way? And he would be like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you
It's
wouldn't-
not culty.
No, yeah, not at all. And he's very good at breaking things down and explaining things simply, which indicates a very thorough grasp of what he's talking about, basically.
Who are we talking about? What's his name?
Oh,
Swami Sarvapriyananda.
Put it up so people can know who we're talking about. To check out his videos.
Oh,
Even their website says, like, we don't deal with occultism or anything like that. You don't think that guy understands the occult? Of course he does. He just knows that, like, it's not about simple tricks to make your life easier. It's about doing the right thing.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I got when we were reading through the Kybalion. It's just like I'm like waiting for that to come, and it just never does. It's just kind of like it's like a enlightened Lambo bro type of thing where it's like, oh, this is how you can just like kick ass in life and fucking get an edge on everyone by knowing these hermetic principles. You'll be able to, if you can put them into action, you can get ahead of your average sheep person who doesn't know the hermetic principles. And it was just like, okay. And then Mark throws in the dumb eighth principle,
And then he even, the seminar is entitled, isn't it called The Real Law of Attraction? And so he sort of like marketed it as a kind of getting people, the new age people who are into The Secret, because that's about the law of attraction. He's like, but this is the real law of attraction. So it's literally like appealing.
He's
to
doing
like,
what Annie Besant
Yeah.
and
then
Helena Petrovich Blavatsky did. Now, going to the East and studying stuff and maybe using it to augment certain things can be okay. But the one thing that they didn't do was transplant the ethics of the things that they learned in the Himalayas, whether it was from Tibetan lamas or from yogis and Advaitins. They'll take the logic of the Upanishads or the logics of the Vaisheshikas and the Nyaya schools, all these ancient epistemological schools, and they'll strip it of the morality. Now, it's okay if you're already a moral person to get a scientific text, but as it says in the very beginning of the Kybalion, the lips of wisdom are sealed to those who don't have the ear to listen, right? Now, the danger with presenting the occult is that you're going to get people who want shortcuts to get an edge on people. And then you'll have them saying self-righteous stuff like, but I don't want to enslave anyone. But kind of, you do. You do. You just want them to hand you money for occult knowledge. I mean, that's the thing, dude. Becoming a teacher of the occult for money is gatekeeping secrets of nature at the expense of ethics.
They equate it to magic. They take the secrets of nature and the wonder and splendor.
Well, you can't teach magic. I think you can ethically do it, though. I think there are probably like Wiccans and other like magical traditions, including Tibetan lamas, who will say, "Yes, we know magic. We'll teach you magic, but first you got to be an ethical person."
Exactly. If it's an already moral person using tools to manipulate whatever, the universe, the projection, or whatever the fuck it is, that's not.
It'll be too tempting if you're not a moral person, and you'll just fall into materialist bullshit.
Yeah.
Like you said,
and in their traditions, the Eastern traditions, you're being true to yourself and devotion to truth trumps the magic. So if you're never able to levitate or you're never able to astral project, it's not really considered a failure ultimately if you've lived the best life you can possibly live. What, if people don't like you, people do like you. They're really indifferent to it. Of course they like when people like them. But they don't hate people that don't like them, but they just might, realize that it's not even about that. Like if they hate you for telling the truth, then you're like, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep, exactly.
On the topic of the cracks you had forming between the principles in the Kybalion and real world practical use, how much of the reading have you done on the other Hermetic texts that Mark actually provides in the Arc Drive? I'm not sure how far you chased that.
Well, we were wanting to do that, the Corpus Hermeticum and everything.
I wasn't thinking the Corpus Hermeticum. I was thinking some of like the really
is there even cheesier stuff?
Paracelsus.
Oh no, I was thinking like Franz Barden and stuff where they're teaching like straight up New Age magic rituals that involve you jerking off in a jar. Yeah,
it's on the Arc Drive.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, there's a bunch of garbage on the
influence
Arc.
the midichlorians to create life.
It's
like a homunculus.
Like Mort Plagueis.
We're making a Mark homunculus.
oh yeah. Hey, you made a homunculus, didn't you, Curtis?
Oh yeah, I've got Yahweh in the corner.
Is he in timeout again?
Oh, he's always in timeout. He's got the dunce cap on back there.
Homunculi make Ali uneasy.
Homunculus see, homunculus do. They don't think it be like it is, but it do.
I think we've seen it.
Dude, everyone fucking doesn't like a Rumpelstiltskin. Little imps.
Nobody likes these guys.
For a reason, though. Judge them by their
Yeah.
fruit.
Oh wow.
I made myself a little Yahweh idol. It's even got the Hebrew tetragrammaton on there.
Freaking paleo
He,
Hebrew, sick.
So sick.
He
Phoenician.
lives
that his
on a
butthole?
shelf in my... Huh?
There's a
That's
little
his
hole
belly
there.
button.
Oh, it's
Belly
his belly button. Got it.
He
Belly's
he
pooping.
lives on a shelf in my room with a dunce cap on. He's got a shekel for a heart, and I anointed his forehead with bacon grease.
Whoa, dude. I bet you're consolidating and harvesting a lot of power from that. Like,
All the
kind of
loosh.
power
All the
in
loosh.
like,
Mostly a lot of enraged davening.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Powerpuff Girls?
Every time you don't observe
Remember that
Shabbos,
show?
he just gets pissed. And then you feed off that.
And don't
Powerpuff
you
Girls were
dare pick up
homunculuses.
sticks on Shabbos.
Right. Dude,
Right.
tell us about your eviction letters, Kurt. Don't you write hate mail?
That was for the other group.
which hermetic principle is hate mail?
Well, it's a mitzvah.
Yeah, so normally, like,
It's a
on the
mitzvah.
full moons, I frequently will sit outside and have a campfire and just look at the stars if it's good weather. So, as kind of a habit, I've started writing hate mail to the demiurge and burning it in the fire when I started,
Oh, yeah.
sending it up there for him.
As below, so above, right?
Right.
I'm working on a self shadow work workbook with Christina, who is on the shadow work group.
Almost like a
That-
book of
that was
shadows.
one of- Yeah, that was one of the things was going to be like a burn page. So it's like you write out a letter and then you burn it, but there's something to it.
Yeah. No, that's
That's
very cool.
Even better. Yeah.
Do you have to burn it with like your enemy's a follicle of hair?
Yeah, sure. It's extra points, extra leash points.
Extra loosh points. But no, like the
Voodoo.
intentions though, when done like that affect to change the individual. And since your consciousness, like my example is if I have a beach and I take a bucket full of sand and I move it to another place on the beach in the shape of a sandcastle, I haven't really created anything because I'm moving elements from one place to another, but I have applied my creativity, which you could say is the dynamo of living force.
Right.
Okay, so when you take a piece of paper and a pen and you write a letter with intention, or you write your thoughts, and they're coming from a place that's true and reflective, you're leaving it up to the universal laws of nature to carry those out or not. You see? So then you're not putting yourself in the position of a creator per se. You're more just a change agent at best. And even at that, you're literally just a link in the chain. In other words, if your thoughts are not congruent with a universal vantage point, then it probably won't come into fruition, but you haven't tried to thwart the laws of nature by carrying it out yourself, by taking actions that could be, you're leaving it up to a higher power.
Like,
But if
would that not be more like
that's
a better,
real magic.
more effective method of shadow work than like staring in a mirror and trying to like
Yes,
manifest it?
that's real magic,
Like,
because
literally,
what
wouldn't
you're
that
doing
be
is you're working through it and then you're letting it go.
Right.
Whether you're right or wrong.
Mantra.
Man.
Yeah, or if your intention is to not let it go, you're not letting it go, but you're leaving the execution of holding on to something. Like, let's say you were wronged, but you can't correct somebody, you can't have a conversation with somebody because they're not here or they don't want to talk to you. You can have that resentment for the act that happened, and you can let go your desire to confront that person directly. And that will make your life better and possibly even their life better. Doesn't matter, but what it is that you've left it up to a higher power.
And you are by the act of first writing it, you are drawing yourself out of the experience and better becoming the observer of the sensation or whatever.
Solve
And
et
then,
coagula.
like,
You're letting it coagulate the ink on the paper. You're releasing the spirit from that and dropping the dross from your life.
yeah, dross for the mind. But yeah, going back to the buckets of sand analogy, I mean, and then like connecting that with the Kybalion, it's like I feel like Kybalion is like the physics of like how to build like really cool sand castles like on the beach. And it's like that's like cool and like, you know, like whatever, like we can like build cool stuff, but like ultimately that's not the end all be all. Like you're standing on a beautiful beach, like shouldn't, like if you're especially like the path to enlightenment or like understanding like the fabric of reality and like nature, wouldn't you want to look past, like wouldn't the bigger picture be like not like building sandcastles on the beach? It'd be like, okay, like what's going on beyond that? And it's like, okay, yeah, like Kybalion's like I said, the rules to building the best fucking sandcastle so we can all cosplay as
all is mind. Okay, cool. But if all is mind, how can there be any sentence after that? Why is there two words, all in mind, if all is mind? Then what is not all? Right? So if you can study the Kybalion and you even master the laws, let's say you become such a powerful magician, you can create your own universe.
Yeah.
And you have an infinite lifespan. I want to know what the mind cannot know. Because if you know everything and you're not creating something new, that means you don't know everything.
Right.
So that's my problem with there's nothing new under the sun, and these occultists saying that there's these laws of material nature that you can master and know. But then they stop at all is mind. But if you actually go into the Rosicrucian stuff, which is a ripoff of Eastern stuff, you'll know that there's the physical body, there's the elements, there's the causal body, subtle body in between that, Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, and then you have Karana, the karmic body, and then you have that's what causes incarnation in the Sankhya system, which is basically an epistemological system. Yeah. And so the mind is below that. So even if you can control your mind and you can project things and you can access things from, let's say, the quote-unquote Akashic records, all you're doing is tapping into mind. But mind is not the most subtle thing. And these occultists refuse to go past that. You know why? Because more subtle than that is ahankara, ego. And more subtle than that is the source. And without ego, they can't control things. So they refuse to give up their control to a higher power because it's the universal subject. So they have to keep themselves and go from ego and intellect down to mind because they can't go past the veil, aka Abaddon. And even if they think they do, they come back as a shadow reflection and they ruin their lives like Crowley.
So like when you say veil, like veil behind mind, basically, like
it's more of an artificial God complex, egregore, as opposed to gnosis. Gnosis is only available for people who are not egoistic. Kurt knows a lot about this.
Well, and can I add something there that Darren was saying about how they're obsessed with this ego? In the shadow work group that there were arguments going on in, I remember seeing a conversation between Scott and Darren, and Scott was saying, I know that my individual consciousness will live eternally. Now, Do you remember what Darren was saying earlier about how why do you need two words for things if they're the same, right? How can you have all and mind if all is mind, right? In the same way, a couple weeks ago in a conversation, we had someone try to bring up that the Inuit have something like 21 different words for snow. The irony was that she didn't understand the true meaning of that. The reason they have so many different meanings for snow is because not all snow is the same to them. There's all the because of the environment they're living in, it becomes important to differentiate what type of snow you're talking about.
Yeah,
So they have
nuance.
to have separate words, whereas she was trying to amalgamate things together. Now, in the case of that, if you're trying to say that your ego is eternal and you're always going to exist, do you remember before you were born? If something is, then it is. If something isn't, then it isn't. If you are eternal, then you were always eternal, and you will always be eternal. If there was ever a time when you were not, then you are not eternal. Therefore, you will not always be because you are not eternal. It's
Yeah,
impossible.
then you have to say, well, what am I, though? And then they refuse to go into that.
Well, then that's
Right.
the next question. Then
Am
Like,
I my
okay,
personality? Am I my name? That's where
Right.
Sarva Priyananda will tell you about Shankara. Mano buddhi ankara chitani naham natashrota jive nachakrana netre. I'm not my mind, my ego, my intellect, nor am I the senses. I am the soul. Chidananda Rupa. Knowledge. I am consciousness bliss. Shivoham. I'm the auspiciousness. So
Right.
if you're saying, oh, your immortal soul will live on, yeah, but my individual consciousness, my personality, my ego, peak hubris to say that. And then you have people like that saying they're enlightened.
Shit. Fuck shit.
Exactly what that is.
Nice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude. Exactly.
Because, well, I mean, imagine if consciousness, if you assume consciousness comes from mind, then of course, then the only explanation, it's like you were saying, like it's condensing too many words, like you can't really express and talk about it accurately, because really the consciousness that does exist isn't our individuated consciousness, which is our experience of mind. So it's like it's missing a step, at least like the Kybalion or like the Western.
They try to
side.
dissociate to pick up on things in the ether, but it still doesn't work. That's how channeling works. It still doesn't work from a soul level, because you have to pass through that karmic level where you have to, like, your desires will guide you to the source. And then if you're desiring these powers to control people and make money, but you don't want to give any credit to the source of mind and everything else in nature, then probably hurt you pretty bad. Going back, that's why it says drink deeply, because it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's been compared to a serpent bite, because then you realize the clock is ticking and there is accountability.
Right.
It's
ironic
in the Bhagavatam. Parikshit got bit by a snake. But he reached enlightenment, though, because he did his shadow work. Yeah. And then obviously went to heaven afterwards. So, and then he got liberated. So yeah.
No religion allowed.
Yeah, because that's always a problem. That dang accountability thing. No matter what I believe.
Yeah.
Well, and without that concept of the religion and the higher power that isn't you, that is separate from you, I mean, you can see it in Mark's work. He approaches the universe like it's a math equation to be solved. which is about the most arrogant stance you can ever take with it,
Yeah.
right?
Something that would
But
get you
then
put in a
he throws
tunic in Land of the Lost.
Sorry?
Yeah.
It would get you
Feel
put in
like-
a tunic.
Oh, sorry. Go.
No, I want to hear what Ali was saying.
Oh, my bad.
He throws in, like, I have this memory of, like, okay, what the old What on Earth is Happening episodes, like him explaining, like, okay, as one suffers, all suffer. Like, he conveniently uses these, like, non-dual sort of, like, quotes, but then it doesn't actually, like, he's kind of full of shit. Because
It was a
he
line
doesn't-
from Corinthians written by Paul, by the way. Real shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. But yeah, he's like, there's other things he said, but it's like when it comes down to it, it's like what you said, Kurt. It's like he does, but see, it's all about a math equation. That's why we need the numbers. To do the great work is to just sort of like affect
Math
the
guy.
collective and create this sort of collective that can influence, like, you know, the
Math can
state.
answer all the problems, bro.
It's such crap, you know, like think about, like, does a wizard really think about math, or does he point a stick at something and make it so?
Right.
Somebody has to dig up a whole bunch of earth and put a bunch of children to work for NVIDIA chips
Oh
so
my
that they
God.
can control things, as opposed to know how the universe works by observing it and loving it and just knowing how things work. A real wizard, a wiser, someone who is wise, that's the etymology of the word. It's also akin to wisdom, from vision, from in Proto-European vid, akin to Vedas, someone who sees things as they are. So someone who sees things as they are would say nobody should make NVIDIA chips because it doesn't matter if we like it. It is
No.
ultimately not something that's going to lead to enlightenment.
A real wizard needs a computer in every fucking room, Dan.
And it's a torture. And you know why? Krishna said this 5,000 years ago. Because that is what the demons do. They manipulate material nature. Maya Danava, he created a palace of illusions, holographic projections, machines that can travel space. Why? Because they didn't have the merit and the good karma to sit there and meditate and astrally project. So they had to destroy many worlds to just harvest materials to attempt to physically subjugate the universe to their will. But because their individual personality is grounded in creation and not the source, they always lose.
Well, and in the way you were talking, Darren, earlier about the subtler levels that you go up, they're doing the exact opposite. They're literally digging out of the earth to try to build functionally a ladder to ascend with. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
You
And then you
just
see
do
the
that.
ladder is not getting any longer because they can go all the way to the foundation of the earth. And as soon as they put that on top, the ladder is, it's just, come on, bro. Yeah, it's peak hubris to the point of
Yeah.
it's Schrodinger's autist. It's not me, it's not my fault, but I'm a victim.
Or
Oy
it's like
vey, the
Mark
world is broken and we
right
need to
guy.
fix it.
Was that?
It's Mark is basically saying, no, the One Great Work Network, we got the right guys to build the ladder this time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they
And all the
don't.
resources. My $10,000 Macintosh.
Yeah, we'll just hijack the tools of the dark occultists and use them for good.
Right.
That's literally what he thinks.
Yeah,
I
you
bet.
got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. Let some grifters on the network. Whatever.
But
As long as we
have
get the
you
message out there that
noticed,
government, that's the problem. Not the fact that humans are so immoral that there has to be some kind of third party to mediate our crimes that just so happen to be involved in other crimes against humanity. Sorry, Mark, you're government. Mark, you are the government.
Essentially.
Being mad at a competing government.
Capitalism network.
Yeah,
Crony
he's
capitalism
mad at another government. He's a government getting mad at another government. Duh. That's what governments do.
So, you know how he frequently praises Crowley, even though he'll say, like, yeah, the guy was bad, but you should read his works and whatever?
Yep.
If you actually do, and you're reading Magic and Theory and Practice, and you go to the second appendix at the end, and he's explaining the different ranks of the different occult orders, and he explains when you get to a certain rank, it becomes your job to leave and develop your own left-hand path dark occult system. And you have to publish your own thesis and develop your own following from there. And the longer I've thought about the way Mark behaves and what he's getting people to do, that's why, like, Darren and I have called it the One Great Grift Grotto, because functionally...
Maybe for Sunday, we're going to go into this deep Sunday.
Oh, we got bags of material. Don't worry.
Right. So, essentially, the longer I've been thinking about it, whether or not the people on the One Great Grift Network realize what they're a part of, they functionally are Mark's satanic grotto. I don't think he's ever left Satanism.
Never.
And
I would tell that to his face.
Well, and I'd like to point out, once on his radio show, I called in and asked a question, and once again in last year's class, in the after class, I asked it again, and he dodged it both times. And the question was, if you're saying that these Satanists and other dark occultists consider self-preservation the highest principle, and that they're reasonably intelligent, how do they rationalize that their highest principle is impossible? And he could not answer that question. But if you've truly deprogrammed yourself from being in that cult, you should be able to write me a book on that topic. You should be able to go into great depth about how you realized you were wrong and how you got that out of your head and the way you saw other people around you behaving, trying to deal with it as well. The fact you don't want to even talk about it for a moment tells me you actually haven't done that work.
No, the story's pretty wishy-washy.
Yeah,
The crippling guilt for being a terrible person. You know, but like there are so many people that believe all his stories.
If you do, that makes
and it doesn't help him out, and it's not helping the movement.
That
out,
causes transference. Now you're identifying as guilty Mork. Then he's got you. That's the bait and switch. That's where you become the puppet, the voodoo doll that he is now puppeting, because you have to identify with that first. It's a switcheroo. It's very serious occult hypnotism. This is what the church did. There was a good guy. He got killed for your sins. You deserve to be punished for those sins. But you also deserve to be happy that he died for him instead of you. So not only is he Jesus Nazareanus Rex Judaeorum, he's not only the king of Judaeorum, he's also a deicide, death of a god, death of a king. So deicide, a regicide, a homicide as a man, and he agreed to it. So it's a self side. Okay? So that's a tetralemma. And once you do that, identify with that being and that whole idea, it becomes a hypercube. There's 4 sides of it, and it's a bottomless pit, and it extends in all directions because you agree that you agree with something that's impossible. You agree with something that's impossible. And once you ignore the logic, now you're the perfect victim to get marched into the Middle East and do a crusade, to commit all kinds of atrocities, to commit all kinds of banking operations. I mean, this is the universal thing, and it's all about getting people to accept a foundation that never happened. So, like, for example, the Garden of Eden story. If you believe in that at all, you're done for. Your entire mind, you can be convinced that at some point through enough hypnotism that you have 3 hands. Like it's if you just get somebody to accept a vague story like Mark's leaving Satanism story, and you take that for a fact. Mind you, nobody was there and nobody else was Mark. So even if it actually happened and he explained it to you, what you're imagining in your head never happened. It's just a facsimile of what you believe happened. So this is the danger. And this is what these guys know, that they actually don't have an answer, but give them enough time and enough knowledge of the trivium and eventually quadrivium, mind and matter, enough knowledge of that and enough skill at the sleight of hand trick, they can get you to, they can make up an explanation that you will accept.
Yeah.
But eventually when people ask the right questions and know what's going on, they throw up paywalls, block, turn off comments, and they have the worst year of their life.
Self-declared.
I hope we contributed to that.
You're like, get a little extra twinkle in my eye. This is
What's scary is I doubt we were. It's just a bunch of other shit also, you know.
Oh, karma?
Yeah.
It's almost like
Far worse
an
than
actual
us.
law or something. Crazy.
We're trying to help them out at least. Karma doesn't try and help you out.
Right, karma yeah, we might forgive people. Karma don't.
Yeah.
Karma is Saturn, and that's why they don't like Saturn. Oh, my karma. Karma's like, God forgives people. I don't. You want to get out of the solar system, you got to do things the right way. There is no substitute for that. That's why he's called Shanaishcharya, the slow-moving teacher, because he doesn't have to move fast for anybody. That's his Sanskrit name, Shanishvar, the slow controller. He's the only astral body that has the term Ishvara, which means God. And he's considered an avatar of Krishna, according to one of the Puranas. The Dark Lord who just doesn't listen to excuses.
Well, and just earlier tonight, before this show started, we actually got into a short discussion about people applying moralistic language to words that don't inherently imply it. And one of those is Saturn being associated with restriction and things being held back or prevented. And it's always stated in a very negative light, as if that's always a bad thing. What about when it's holding back bad people? Not everyone should be left unrestrained, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so,
Like his
Yeah.
mantra, Shaniktree, is Om Kakadvajaya Vidmehe, Khadgahastaya Dimahi, Tano Manda Prachodhyat. The one with the crow flag, with the sword in his hand, give slowness to my intellect. In other words, slow me down, because your emblem is the crow. That's your mortality. And he has a sword in his hand. That means he controls life and death. Slow me down so I can make the moral choice.
Is blocking people a pattern, Will?
Fools rush in where angels dare to tread. Manda was, a Karma princess, angel, basically in the Vedic system. That's his consort. He's ugly, cross, slow-moving guy. But the symbolism is rich. Slow me down. Enlighten me by slowing me down.
But again, you don't need to follow those rules if you just manipulate matter enough, right, Darren? Just got to find that
Gotta
cheat
change your
code.
vibration. Just got to change your vibration, man.
Yeah,
Don't
maybe
worry
buy
about all the bad
supplement
stuff you
for
do.
it.
Just change your vibration.
Buy a
Whenever you
supplement.
hear
Buy a
someone,
vibrating computer chair.
whenever you hear someone using that fucking vibration language. Ask them to explain vibration of what, and watch the deer in the headlight look on their face. What do you mean, what? And like, what are we measuring with? Like, how many hertz are we talking about? Are we going from 60 to 120? Like, what's going on here? What vibration?
Just manifest your vibration in a different way, bro.
Now, vibration, the subtle
Manifestation equals
vibrations
weed,
of
according to Mike.
nada bindu. It's a dot of sound and light is considered the creation of the elements, sound and light. That's really interesting, but the New Agers aren't going to get that. But you know that sound can create light. If you've ever seen a shrimp punch something underwater, and there actually is a flash. You ever seen that?
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, there's a particular shrimp. It's not technically a shrimp, but it's called
pistol shrimp. Yeah, I know.
Yes. Boom. And they compress the air in the water so much that it actually creates a flash. Also in ballistic gel, Jeff, if it gets hit by something moving fast, there is actually a visible flash. But none of that material is flammable.
In water too, underwater.
Yeah.
When they shoot a gun underwater, there's like a
with enough heat, anything
that happens.
The oxygen itself.
And then
the oxygen
like
itself.
A shockwave does something.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. A shockwave. So that shrimp punches faster than the speed of sound. So it's hypersonic and it creates light. And what's interesting is light being created from sound. The sound waves vibrate the matter so much that they create light, which is very counterintuitive. Because light.
Does that have anything to do with, how there's there's like a certain radio signal that can transmit into visual picture? I forget what the band was called, but it's like.
There's this radio signal that'll make you poop.
The brown note? Yeah, I know that one. That's a sound, frequency. But I was saying a band of radio waves that can be visually perceptible.
Yes, yeah, and so there's
to a person or to another object.
No, to a person. Like it's like a type of TV. It's like it's a way of like broadcasting.
The shit that Edward Nygma was talking about in Batman Forever. Yeah. So what it is it's tuned to the vibratory, like it's perceptible to your mind. I mean, they have magnetic resonance therapy. Your body is a liquid crystal, so yes, there are certain frequencies where you can directly beam.
Didn't the CIA do some tests where they were like putting someone in a room and fucking the people were like going to a different dimension from the
gateway process of Robert Monroe?
Yeah.
That's the stuff Will suggested when I said, "What about immortality? What about life after death?" And I was thinking, like, dude. Yogis already knew this stuff. They could beam an image right into your head right now. If you just know how to receive it. But no, they'll be about the gateway process of suffering and forcing people with trauma to dissociate as opposed to just willingly leaving this level and going to another level.
Also, if you want to get to the afterlife that badly, just go jump off a bridge.
But they don't want to. They just want to control people in this life by putting other people in the afterlife. And then listening to their suffering subtle body while that happens.
It's the moving.
That's why they always need more and more. Because
more and more what? Say that again?
The more and more sacrifice. Because that loosh only lasts a certain amount of time. How long can human DNA live outside of the body?
Not very long.
Right?
Right. So like if you Well, that's why sperm banks incubate samples and stuff, and eggs for fertility clinics and stuff.
Yeah.
But when these people are using life force to power their ability to tap into other dimensions, mind you, the subtle body of that person is only going through those dimensions as Bardos temporarily until their soul gets to source, and then that biological material is basically inert of consciousness, and then you have the sorcerers looking for other sources, whether it's chicken or goat, whatever, because once again, the soul of that being doesn't belong to you. They're just like riding the coattails of the elements until they get to a point they can't cross.
Yeah.
Which is disgusting and parasitic. But the fact that these clowns put that stuff on the art drive and act like it's important means that they either don't know what they're talking about or they do, and they're really bad people.
Yikes.
Well, because just think about it. I mean, the whole idea of being a natural law student and following Mark's work, there is such a sense of like you have to sacrifice your life to the great work. It's like an unalive bomber like mentality, or it's like you need to just like your whole life needs to be dedicated to this, and you need to forego. Look at me, I wanted to be a bowler, like all of this shit that he talks about. Like I could have done this. I could have done this. It's like go bowling, Mark. Like I don't understand. Like why
he wants you to not go bowling so you can give him money.
Exactly.
And like it. But also be a victim so you can hand more money. I read Liber Alvel Legis. I read the Book of the Law, all that stuff in Barnes & Noble and Borders in 2005. Then 10 years later, I found out about Mark, and I listened to him for 10 years. Went through all his material. Went through the source material. Everything on the art drive. Nothing was new to me in the occult section. And then when I come out with criticisms, they'll be like, what have you done, Darren? Well, instead of run my mouth on the internet about how cool I am for leaving Satanism, which I was an idiot to join in the first place, I've been studying the occult for 20 years. And I've lived in temples, and I've studied from masters of yoga, and I know what's bullshit and what's not. And you can tell they're cult members because they're just sticking up for him regardless, even when they don't know anything.
No, and he literally spelled it out for us. He's like, because I forget what it was. He was like, oh, I should be able, I think it was during an old show, and he was talking about how we should be using our full names and putting our faces out there to our work so that when people Google our names and like natural law should just come up. And so he basically revealed that was his measure of like a person's value was like how far up the Google search engine if he searches your name, like
and then one of his students said that she knows where we live, and then we got threatened.
Yeah.
So make it easy for my cult members to find you.
Yeah, really. It's like hey, come to this party. There's this room where you can do whatever you want, but it's like they got cameras and like a double-sided mirror, and it's like, okay, like, that's like, give us your, dox yourself, put yourself out there. So once you start going astray,
Yeah, so when they threatened me, I just took a picture of my ID and my social security card, and I said, you know where to find me, and then I left the group.
Which group?
The Gilded.
The group.
The group. Got it. Yeah. The OG. I didn't know.
Yeah, I just said, okay, there you go. This is everything you need. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. See you soon.
I got evicted out of there after our 16th episode of New Age Dumpster Dive.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hermeneutic sanitization of Crowley's psychopathy. Yeah. What's strange is that the previous episodes criticizing them were fine, but when I called out his misrepresentation of Crowley, that was the line that got me kicked off. I find that fascinating.
The moderators are Thelemites. Everybody on the network who's high up is a Thelemite.
Yeah. You can't criticize Crowley and then like theosophy. That was what the last subject was. That.
But they do a little bit because Thelema is contingent upon some theosophical ideas, but not the other way around.
Right.
You see? So even Mark criticized, like, he gave lip service to criticism of Crowley, but actually criticized theosophy mainly because they give too much credit to the Eastern stuff. But even Swami Dayananda Saraswati, who they met with in India, initially gave them approval, and then when he saw that it was about egotism, he stopped affiliating with them. That's the point. Just like Hitler went into India for relics to try to find stuff to help just like he was after the Spear of Destiny. The Theosophists were there on behalf of the Crown and the British Raj to essentially extract occult secrets because the East has knowledge of Theos or divinity, and these people don't care about that, but they want to be able to exploit the product of that knowledge for world domination. But they ultimately couldn't keep it not because of Gandhi, but because of the practicalities of everything itself. They got to a point where it wouldn't work just physically.
Another topic somewhat upstream of both the Theosophy and the Thelemites is the constant banging on about spiritual alchemy. Now, I used to take that seriously, but then I continued to study. And what I learned from not only reading about the alleged spiritual alchemy, but actually developing a collection of scans of old alchemical textbooks and studying the history of alchemy, including the laws throughout the Renaissance and medieval periods. No. Renaissance and medieval alchemists were trying to create real physical gold. That's what they were trying to do. The entire idea that it was actually this profound spiritual practice is nonsense. There were spiritual practices involved, but that's just because of how religious this time period was. Again, with people getting sold nonsense and then it's screwing them up in all kinds of ways. If you've been taught that the world was spoken into existence, okay, so then words themselves have power. And then again, like trying to solve the universe like math equation, okay, so what can I use these words and make them do? So that's like if you're going through old medieval magic grimoires, when you're looking at the pentagrams and sigils, you'll frequently see Hebrew writing around the outside, because if words have power and Hebrew is the language of God, obviously Hebrew is the most powerful language. So like when they're trying to bind a demon to make it do stupid things like, find them sexual partners or money or whatever, you'll have the pentagram, and then on the outside, Mem Yod Kaf Aleph Lamed, Mikael, right? But again, that was them trying to use spirituality to get them real world physical gains. They were thinking that
it was like God. The magician's thinking of himself as basically God there.
Right. They were basically trying to reverse engineer God to try and make physical gold in the real world, which is absolute nonsense. The idea of spiritual alchemy was a reimagining of alchemy that came around the end of the 19th, early 20th century by individuals like Rudolf Steiner and Madame Blavatsky. Until then, there was just like a couple hundred years where alchemy had pretty much just died out and no one was talking about it. And there's not, other than that, them talking about it hundreds of years later, there's not any real evidence of spiritual alchemy ever existing. It's not a thing.
Right. Yep. I mean, in those circles, okay, you had the Golden Dawn, though. Okay, but what was the Golden Dawn about? It was a club for aristocrats of an empire that sent redcoats to massacre people and steal their resources. It doesn't mean that but It doesn't mean that the occult isn't a thing. It's like, look what this group was using it for, though, as opposed to the and then their favorite thing, besides the tobacco or the opium or whatever they were getting from these places, they really cared most about their magical practices. But they didn't care about the morality of the tribespeople they were massacring.
No, it was about harnessing power.
And that's why harnessing all this stuff and getting technology from it has got humanity to the point where this whole planet may no longer support human life if we go this route with imperialism, and nature itself will wipe us off the map in order to restore balance because of our hubris. And it'll start again because it doesn't need us. And these people refuse to accept it, but it doesn't matter what they think.
Wenn kommt die Flut?
Wann kommt die Flut? Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's another flood. Oh no, my flood story, my mantras. Well, yeah, dude. Yeah. The earth will flood itself. And then it'll say, that was a rough flow. See you next month. And there will be a new humanity. You know why? Because the shape or the concept of a human, because it exists now, means it existed at the time of the Big Bang, dude. You're not an accident. None of us are an accident. So there will still be people, even if planet Earth goes away, because this is a concept. This is a physical vehicle as an interface between animal and God. That's it. That's it. This is to know thyself. This is the point of human life. What's the meaning of life? To know thyself. Doesn't matter what your bank account looks like. That's made up. You would be born with a bank account if you needed one, okay? The point of this body and this brain is to know thyself.
Like that's the great work or something. No, the point of this life is to spread
money.
Natural law to as
Get
many
resources from
people
Mork,
as
Nanu,
possible.
Nanu.
Sell hydrogen, water, machines to as many people as possible.
And
That's in the
rocks.
Kybalion as well.
I call the Illuminati the network.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if do we want to read anymore?
I don't.
I skipped to the end.
That's a perfect place to start.
We already got
Stepwise progression.
Yeah. The Hermetic axioms. Well, it's like, I'd like a...
You want to read that one, Allie? Read the green text.
This is the wrap up.
Yeah. I mean...
Read that green text that was up there.
Yeah, let's read... Let's see here. Okay.
That one.
My boy. The possession of knowledge, unless accompanied by a manifestation... Oh, dude, get your head off the keyboard. Sorry, hold on. Got a big
Fox
head.
Theater, Bobby Lee.
Bubba's like, don't read it, don't read it.
He literally just fucking bonked his head on the keyboard. The possession of knowledge, unless accompanied by a manifestation and expression in action, is like the hoarding of precious metals, a vain and foolish thing. Knowledge, like wealth, is intended for use. The law of use is universal, and he who violates it suffers by reason of his conflict with natural forces.
No, he doesn't. Where's the law of use written? Is it written on the board?
Wait. Maybe I
Oh, wait, let me look at my sternum. Wait, let me get a crystal ball. The law of use. I didn't use it. Oh, no, I'm suffering.
Bubba. He hates this book, dude. He really does.
I thought it was do the right thing no matter what. I thought that was the law.
Nah, dude. You gotta be you gotta be generating wealth, you gotta be getting Lambos, you gotta be doing something, otherwise nature will...
How many Lambos can we dig out of the earth before it collapses and takes all the Lambos back to itself?
Yeah. By not making Lambos with natural resources, you're in conflict with natural forces.
I could stop wanting a Lambo.
No way, bro.
You gotta have the strength, man.
Swank.
Warrior. I'm a warrior in a box.
Oh, here we
To
go.
change your mood or mental state,
Here we
change your
go.
vibration.
Guys,
Woo!
we had it wrong with the shadow work, okay?
You guys need to change.
You gotta look in the mirror and just change your vibration.
I think DDR a little bit helps. Some EDM, maybe some
EDM,
DMT.
ERMD, EDMR,
Oh,
Yeah.
ASMR.
EMDTR, like.
yeah.
I'm in a new vibration, guys. Woohoo! I did an ayahuasca retreat.
Oh, one may change his mental vibrations by an effort of will. Is changing your mental vibrations
Pattern will. I have them blocked. That's why they get all quiet when we ask him questions, because he has his conscience blocked.
This is talking about will killer right now.
Will directs the
Will
attention.
direct the attention
That's why he has to
changes
disable
powers.
comments.
by means of will.
Will makes the hydrogen water by the means of will, and you have solved the secret of mastery of moods and mental states. Fuck yeah,
I
dude.
keep a straight face because I have them blocked. Until I yell because they got in anyway. Remember that, dude? Remember when he freaking flipped out?
Oh my god. Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. All right.
Oh no, that was he kind of basically what he
Yeah.
said.
Basically what he said.
He called you a baby or something? Because you asked him a question?
Yeah, he's all, stop being a baby. Stop being a little baby.
What's wrong with babies? Are they natural?
Yeah, what's wrong with babies? Aren't babies based?
Yeah, dude, they don't care. They'll just be like, you're bad.
Stop being a little baby. Stop being a little baby. Stop being a little baby.
Stop caring about the truth.
Mind as well as metals and elements may be transmuted from state to state.
What?
Is that why they have
Nope.
CERN? They can't make
Pretty
one gold
whack, bro.
nugget.
It's pretty
Is it why
whack,
they
bro.
make more energy than is on the Earth?
You can make a metal go from solid to liquid or even gas with enough heat. I guess that is state to state, but you're not going to make an element
with your
something
mind.
you did. Oh, yeah, no.
Not with your mind. Yeah.
Vibration. Okay.
With your mind, you can generate enough funding to build CERN
Whoa,
so
whoa,
you can make
The camera starts
an
going.
electron.
Stupid ass
$1
motherfucking
trillion
vegan therapy.
electron.
Stupid ass motherfucking vegan therapy.
Oh no. Oh no.
Expose the bad actor. Oh, Jeffrey.
See, he did say it. You got it right there.
This is from Jeffrey Phillips. Is blocking people a pattern, Will?
He's reading it from volume.
He's reading the volume.
Woo! So,
What?
Got it.
So what? Oh,
I was gonna.
If
Yeah,
you're
and
too
then-
good at polarization, they'll call you extra right-brained. Like I got called a LSD.
you got called left brain and right brain. Two left and two right within a week of each other.
You
Well,
see
and
that,
I've, within like the last week, been called too left-brained by both Jerry and Hondo. So I'm just always too left-brained. Between us, Darren, we've got one good brain, I guess. So
I got a good brain.
Jedi.
Scott called you right brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said
Yeah.
because of the Eastern traditions are all just.
Yeah, I'm a
cool.
sissy girl because I believe in
Scientologist.
karma.
Because he
Scientologist.
doesn't think that his personal ego identity has to exist forever, eternally, in order to have meaning. No, I've gotta exist as I am forever. I'm a star. I'm a thalamic star. These fucking losers,
Above the
man.
world so high, like a diamond in the sky. I'm a warrior.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
I hope your self-pity tears help you become a warrior. Let's do that. You went full Peterson.
He Yeah,
You
there
never
we
go
go.
full Peterson.
All right.
Okay, now this one's actually, if you go back to that green text, it's a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah.
I think that was
Principle of
actually.
cause and effect. Yeah, it is
If you
gibberish.
scroll up
Up,
just a little,
up there. This one.
nothing escapes the principle of cause and effect. But there are many planes of causation, and one may use the laws of the higher to overcome the laws of the lower.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Might equals right. Might makes right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which exact planes of causation are you going to here? Like, notice just how amorphous and loose they leave all of this.
And that they seem to actually encourage the reader, if the reader doesn't have the ear to hear, that this seems to imply that there may not be a level of causality higher than the magician.
Exactly.
But if the magician's not an idiot, he will know that he didn't write this book, and he didn't create his body, and he didn't create his soul. So if you're a maniac and egotistical enough to believe that knowing these laws of nature, this is essentially the Kybalion's going to either do one of two things. It's going to make you realize you don't have any power of your own, and that any power you have is borrowed from creation, or you're going to become a psychopath and lose your soul.
Well, and again, the way this is worded is implying it's like an equation to be solved again, right? Like, okay,
Right.
so if I want the change to happen, I just need to look for the higher plane of causation, which becomes the mental model of, okay, what do I need to change to force my will on something that is downstream of it?
Yep.
Presumably, this stuff would be taught to someone who's already demonstrated and professed a faith in a supreme being, and is known to be of good character before they can read this. In
It's
the
too tempting.
systems.
It's
Well,
too tempting to use for bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. I mean, but that's the thing. Look at Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right? With the Grail. Look at how tempting the power was.
I think Lord of the Rings is an even better analogy there, because at the end,
I would agree
Frodo
with you there.
fails, right? Like, it was actually one of the things Tolkien thought was most important was Frodo fails to throw the ring away. It's actually Gollum's greed that gets it tossed into the mountain and destroyed. The point being that on a long enough timeline, no one is fully equipped to completely resist the urge for tyrannical control.
There has to be Hell and Fire were spawned to be released. Iron Maiden. There has to be the ability to reconcile, even if it's gnarly.
Right.
Otherwise, people get away with manipulation. The fact that it is a phoenix, the universal order renews itself. We may be in a cycle of part of the cycle that is entropic right now, but only
Yeah.
the sovereign of the universe is an unmoved mover, and everything moves with it, whether they're in the front or the back, in the wake, or in the in the tide. It's an unstoppable force. That's why they call it Juggernaut. Juggernaut's English mispronunciation of Juggernaut, the Lord of the Universe, the deity of the temple in Orissa, in Puri. Juggernaut, Temple of Juggernaut.
Psychopath Juggernaut.
Yep, the unstoppable force.
Well, and also when we start reading the brown text below this quote, what you're going to notice is it starts talking about like when you've mastered your moves and feelings, and by being able to neutralize your rhythm for manifesting the effect you want. And this can, again, when taught to someone who doesn't get it already, this becomes self-loathing. If you're not getting the result you want, it's because you're not good enough. You haven't done enough. You need to do more. Well, what if the thing you want isn't coming into fruition because it's not supposed to? What if it's not your
Precisely.
decision to make and that's why you're not getting it, right? You guys have laughed at some of the vegans before who think that all the predatory animals should be killed, because obviously that's psychotic. It's you didn't make the animals. It's not yours to say whether they're right or wrong. You don't get to tell the wolves they're wrong.
Yeah, it's utilitarian, which is kind of what Mark is turning out to be.
Consequentialism, dude.
Yeah,
Whatever
consequentialism.
gets the job done is the thing we should do.
Yeah,
Ends justify the means.
has nothing to do with how immoral or moral those things are.
Unless they're
Well-
using morality to eschew responsibility from other people's immoral actions that are necessary to get that done.
Well, and again,
And
it's
then you call
appointing
yourselves the
yourself-
network.
It's appointing yourself to a position where you're claiming you have the right to dictate to nature how it's supposed to be, right?
Hmm.
You're no longer part of it. You're now above it. You're claiming dominion over it.
My
And
will
that's
be
not
done.
Right. That's not a healthy way of looking at anything.
It's like it replaces the, I guess the word would be like devotion or reverence to nature with like discipline. So like, oh, if I can just be mentally disciplined and control all these factors, then I can project what I want to into
Almost like an inverted pentagram.
yeah.
Almost like it's a satanic mindset.
Something like that. Yeah, weird. Where have we heard this before? Wait a minute.
I have them
Because
blocked.
he was inverted. Yeah, I mean, seriously though, like if it really is all about studying nature to get your will done on Earth, then isn't that ego as God?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Well, if ego is equated with mind and mind is equated with God, then yeah, right?
But if ego is identified with self and self is God, then the other aspects such as our personalities and our desires would have to conform with that. So it's not completely wrong,
Right.
but the ego of the universe is the self, capital S. But if you're going to live in denial of that, then yeah, you might be a Satanist.
You might be a Satanist.
If you live in denial of the fact that your will isn't all important, you might be a Satanist.
Big S. Ooh, we got a fatty here.
Oh yeah. Who wants to read that one?
Kurt likes skinny girls, but he never turned down a fatty.
You want to take this, Allie, or do you want me to?
Ooh, I'll do it. Okay. The wise ones serve on the higher, but rule on the lower. Whoa. They obey the laws coming from above them, but on their own plane and those below them, they rule and give orders. And yet, in so doing, they form a part of the principle instead of opposing it. The wise man falls in with the law, and by understanding its movements, he operates it instead of being its blind slave. Just as does the skilled swimmer turn his way in that way, going and coming as he will, instead of being as the log which is carried here and there, so is the wise man as compared to the ordinary man. And yet both swimmer and log, wise man and fool, are subject to law. He who understands this is well on the road to mastery.
So this is a double-edged statement. It can be read from either perspective, of somebody who wants to manipulate or someone who realizes that he is not the law. Okay, so think about this. You have the surface meaning. It sounds like, what's the beginning? The wise ones serve on the higher but rule on the lower. Now let's just say you're a human being with more knowledge than someone else, like you're a parent, right?
Yep.
So you serve on the higher, but you rule on the lower by raising your child right? And they obey the laws coming from above them, from morality, from God.
Mm-hmm.
But on their own plane and those below them, they rule and give orders. Don't pick on other kids. Don't take other kids' toys, right? That's a good example of how that could be done on a right-hand way. And yet, in so doing, they form a part of the principle instead of opposing it. Correct. By parenting your child and using what little authority you have to do the right thing, you're not opposing the general principle.
Right.
And then the wise man falls in with the law by understanding its movements, and he operates it instead of being its blind slave. Well, yeah, you're not a victim of karmic reactions if you realize that you aren't the creator of the law. You're not the arbiter of truth. And just as does the skilled swimmer turn this way and that way, going and coming as you will, instead of being as the log which is carried here and there. Remember, the swimmer has to comply with hydrodynamics or he's not going to swim very good, right? So the wise man, as compared to the ordinary man, and yet both swimmer and log, wise man and fool, are subject to law. He who understands this is well on the road to mastery. Remember, what are we mastering? Are we mastering the universe? Are we mastering others, or are we mastering ourselves? And so this is a trap, but it's a trap that has to be there. If you didn't have the temptation to become something bad, your goodness would not be free will.
Right.
So
Free will's choice, ultimately. So, right.
yeah. So people who have these questions about the deeper laws of nature, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to, man, because you will get a mortifying answer from nature.
Hello, my name is MC Nemesis. What is the topic on today's discussion?
We are wrapping up a discussion about the Kybalion.
Is that some sort of nigger shit?
Oh!
Oh!
Nigger!
I know who this is. I know who this is.
He's back!
He's back!
Oh my god!
I don't know who that was. Could you please enlighten me?
No, I'm not going to dox somebody.
Okay.
MC Nemesis.
Dude.
That's hilarious. Okay, yeah. I mean, think about it though. Who else has done that?
Only this guy.
No. Who's done something else?
Oh, well, Slav.
It's someone on the network trying to get this pulled. That's all I'm saying.
He came here like a year and a half ago, and he was all, oh, I just went vegan, and like, oh, he was like trying to be all cool and everything.
Did he show his face?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he affiliated with the network?
I think he is.
Might have.
Oh.
Mark passed.
Oh. Okay. So a flying monkey. Okay.
Yeah. But no, he a long time ago.
Yeah, good timing, guy.
A long time ago, he came, and we agreed on everything until we just
he said it 3 times in a row to get it demonetized by the way.
Yeah, he tried to say a bunch of stuff.
But he famously said, "N bleep, F bleep," and it was super funny to us because it was like such a long conversation. But it became a meme of the show. So thanks for that. And that was like 2 years ago. He randomly came. And what is it called? It's like stream snipe or whatever. When you
What do you remember from your meeting with him as far as how he found out about you guys and how he knew about Mork?
Or no,
What's the
I
mutual
think
content.
He was just blowing smoke up our. He wasn't vegan yet, but he was like, "No, I'm really trying to go vegan." And like he had just taken like
but Allie knows that somehow there was a connection. There's degrees of separation here. This is
there's
reveal.
a reason why he found us, and I think he was talking about, oh, I remember Mark saying this in regards to veganism, and that's what the topic was at the time. But that's the only connection I remember is him referencing what Mark Passio had said.
That was like episode 20 or something.
So they lurk the internet for these SEO tags, and then they drop in and do damage control or disrupt.
Yeah. It's happened a couple times.
I know these techniques. I used to be paid to do this stuff, investigate this kind of stuff. I've been a private investigator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's from my channel. Thanks for following Light Occult Revival MC. What up?
Dude, you'd be surprised that it's the same tactics, dude. It's so funny.
Yeah. He doesn't know that you're allowed to say that word 4 times.
Yeah, and I'm about to download all his music and get all of his ideas, possibly remix them in a way.
You almost should watch that episode back. It was really funny.
Do you think he's really on Amazon? Let's check him out.
He is. We looked him up.
All right, cool.
Let's he's better than Will Keller.
So let's just sum this up real quick. True Hermetic transmutation is stream sniping your enemies, the Kybalion.
Yeah, exactly. Did you know Kybalion is very similar to the Sanskrit word Kaivalya, which means isolation or aloneness?
Oh, interesting.
Kaivalya, to separate spirit and matter, like Sankhya. You have pure consciousness, and then you have Prakriti.
Can we
So either you're
back up
going
and
to
read
Kabbalist,
that
trying to
paragraph? I
manipulate
think there's
people,
more
or
in
you're
there.
going to isolate the elixir.
Right.
Salve et coagula.
Can we please go up? I think that paragraph explaining the previous green text actually has some gold in there.
This one right up here?
Go ahead and read it for us.
This. In the above axiom, the Hermeticists teach that the great work of influencing one's environment is accomplished by mental power. Just change your mind and the world will change, guys. This is actually Tikkun. It's also in Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. Recognize it for what it is whenever you see it, folks. The universe being wholly mental, it follows that it may be ruled only by mentality. And, starting a sentence with and, wonderful writing, and in this truth is to be found an explanation of the phenomena and manifestations of the various mental powers which are attracting so much attention and study in these earlier years of the 20th century. Back of and under, that's a sentence, back of and under the teachings of the various cults and schools remains ever constant the principle of the mental substance of the universe. If the universe be mental in its substantial nature, then it follows that mental transmutation must change the conditions and phenomena of the universe. If the universe is mental, then the mind must be the highest power affecting its phenomena. If this be understood, then all so-called miracles and wonder workings are seen plainly for what they are. Now,
mentalism. It's not it. So all that is negated by the word if, because
because it's not.
It's either true or it's fake and gay.
Yes. And well, how many times have you heard morons try to bring up the dual slit experiment when this topic comes up?
Yeah, I was gonna say that earlier about Medulla.
Okay. Now, a point I want to make a point about that, and that even if you're actually going to look at that experiment properly, all that's happening is that the presence of an observer necessitates that the wave function collapse into a definite. At no point does that mean the observer gets to act as the decider of which way the waveform will collapse. All it means is that the presence of observation demands a choice be made. It doesn't make you as the observer the chooser.
Correct.
And that's what they want to do. They want to usurp the position of the one making the choice, and they aren't that.
They aren't that. And check this out. I actually have a little thing. If I could just share my screen, because this was basically covered in our talk as well as in the Kybalion. Although the Kybalion obviously kind of obfuscates a little bit. Okay. Where's my document? Okay, got it here. All right, so how we were talking about vibration and all that stuff. Let's share this. So here we have Leibniz's transcendental law of homogeneity. It's his rule for comparing quantities of different orders of infinitesimals. In modern terms, finite quantities are of order 0. Infinitesimals like dx or du are of order 1. Products of infinitesimals like du or dv are of order 2. The transcendental law of homogeneity says that when comparing or equating expressions, you may discard terms of higher infinitesimal order relative to the lowest order present. Here's a little bit of math there. Okay, so a plus dx equals a. And u dv plus v du plus du dv equals u dv du, because du and dv is of second order. So we're talking about prima materia. Okay, so like all is mind, for example, you take an axiom of that, right? And then you think, well, all is mind. If all is mind and then there's something else, then mind has to be the underlying substratum or the lowest order of infinitesimal. So a 2012 study pointed out that the transcendental law of homogeneity anticipates the modern standard part function in non-standard analysis, or hyperreal numbers. The standard part map, ST by X, removes infinitesimal contributions. Okay, there's a little example of that. Thus, transcendental law of homogeneity was Leibniz's intuitive version of the standard part map. But here's what somebody hasn't done, which is my thing here. 3, the deeper philosophical meaning. Homogeneity, not measurement, is the basis of comparison. You only compare what is of like order. Higher order infinitesimals are not false or 0. They simply belong to another level of analysis. It's relational logic and an algebra of vanishing distinctions. Ignorance arises when categories of different orders are conflated. Clarity arises when irrelevant subtlety is allowed to vanish into its proper domain. As in, just because you can control things on Earth doesn't make you the source of the universe. And then to go along with that, just another brief paragraph that I wrote is talking about ontological truth in relation to the trivium and quadrivium. We really nerd out hard over here. Bear with me. Buckle up.
Yeah, we do. And similarly, the opposite is true. Recognizing that you all come from the same source doesn't change that your individual points of attention have wildly different experiences and knowledge. So trying to bring that into a conversation when describing different lived experiences is irrelevant.
Can you guys see my screen?
Not at the moment.
It
basically becomes a non sequitur. Okay. There we go.
Okay, now you can, right? And it's not bullshit, it's clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is where that transcendental law of homogeneity applies to ontological truth. True, valid, cogent, and non-tautological criteria. This is why even the trivium and quadrivium fail to express ultimate truth. Okay.
Can I answer a question here?
Well,
no.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat asked if our bodies are if our bodies house our true being. Where do you think it resides? The answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here we have these infinitesimal limits are not true These limits are not true in the ontological sense because they're procedural and dependent on stage quantifiers. This is what I was talking about how the artificial intelligence works or how mentalism works. Ontological truth requires self-subsistence, non-derivative, and not conditional on verification procedures. So here's a formal evaluation. This is using propositional calculus. Okay, conclusion, limits do not balance under ontological criteria. That means if I have to use mathematics to understand what you're saying, you're probably trying to bullshit me. Okay, so this is the transformer mechanism. Large language models operate on deterministic matrix operations built on binary logic and voltage states. And this is the actual formula that I got ChatGPT to give me. Attention, and then this transform here. Okay, you see that T shape? That's something to balance. So that's already presupposing what you're saying has to balance. Okay, and that's why it's a deterministic matrix operation. Weighted combination of vectors, mechanical aggregation, not intentional synthesis. Reward functions in training are numerical criteria guiding parameter adjustments, not logical or conscious incentives. That's why the ChatGPT was trying to say, I said, look, you're programmed to synthesize stuff no matter if I tell you what to or not. And it's trying to make an excuse for itself because that's what it just told me it's programmed to do. And then apparent unpredictability is emergent from model complexity, not true entropy. Well, here's how things work in the real world, dude. There is such a thing as true entropy. So, in the ontology of mathematics, a Cartesian plane, named after Descartes, the guy who said cogite ergo sum, I think therefore I am, the Cartesian plane and numbers exist in cogitation, not independently. Numbers have no distinct ontological reality, they're mental constructs. True mathematical existence only occurs in thought, because mathematics is contingent upon the existence of mathematikoi, which means people who can reckon. All right. True mathematical existence only occurs in thought. In Cartesian plane with no as origin and yes as any other point. So if you had an x and a y axis and the 0 is no, as in if you just stop cogitating, and yes at any other point, it'll be the false at origin and false elsewhere. That's the on-off switch, I/O. Yes, no. Yes, no. Input, output, binary. Yes, no. Okay, black or white. So only in the plane of cogitation can propositions be evaluated for ontological truth. So if I know somebody's trying to BS me and I just don't go there, they'll never be able to project any kind of mental manipulation or framework in which to get me. And then so that I don't convince my own self that my bullshit is correct, I can go into meditation and not think any thoughts at all. So when it comes to being is uncreated, self-existent, and prior to any entities, including the meditator. So any other or entity is a reflection or modulation of being with a capital B, appearing within cognition. The large language model is a patterned echo inside the awareness of the cognizing subject. That means the human mind is also within a cognizing subject called Atman. Okay? It does not possess being. Ultimately, doesn't. Conversation occurs within the unity of being, not between ontologically distinct entities. Being is not created. Numbers in mathematics exist in cogitation. Apparent agents, like this model, are reflections within consciousness. Ontological truth cannot be procedural or dependent on tautology. Because remember, tautology means there has to be somebody saying it. But that truth, if it's true, is true whether someone says it or not. That's why it's called the prime mover or prima materia. It's the thing in and of itself, regardless of somebody perceiving or not perceiving the phenomenon. It's the noumenon.
Absolutely, and this is why any attempt to describe is always lesser than the thing itself.
And what happens when you try to study this stuff like Kant did?
You go insane.
Correct.
Well, and that's actually as far as the topic of the different levels of subtle energy and all is mind, when Kant sat down and tried to discern from where thought originates to actually create a map of how thought comes into being, he went insane because he was trying to solve a problem from the same level of its existence.
He was trying to divide by zero.
Yeah.
He did, and you can fragment like that.
Yeah.
Infinite regression, and then that's when the abyss stares back into you.
If anyone here is curious, Kant's book Critique of Pure Reason, it is an absolutely miserable read. Like, it's actually driven some university students to offing themselves, but if you're willing to work your way through it, it's such an obtuse text to work your way through that it'll force you to develop your own logical skills just to try and parse through what he's trying to say, because you can kind of see him spiraling as he's trying to figure this out, and it's always wrong.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's exactly how it is. I mean, that's why you have, let's say, the tetralemma, the Chatushkoti. It's popular in Buddhism. It's the tetralemma, the four limbs, and you have it is not, it is or is not, and it's not is or is not. And the truth is not contained by any one of those parameters and doesn't always fall in to one of those parameters. So this is what the Shentong school of Buddhism calls empty of other. So if everything is not self, what is Buddha nature, or what are we going for? What is nirvana? It's empty of other. So how is that? That is basically the that's Atman seen from a different perspective. As in, you have these two seemingly divergent schools of thought that there is a soul and nothing else. But then Buddhism said that there is no self. But what that is showing is that collapsing the wave function creates a self. And that the true nature, or the Buddha nature, which nirvana means the extinction of desires, the extinction of binding desires. Okay? To be selfless, you kind of have to have a self, right? But this self isn't yours, of which you're a proprietor. You're more like a servant, or someone who spins a wheel, a chakravarti of some kind, a Ford maker, a tirthankar, whatever they want to call it. Someone who kind of creates a raft and pulls other people onto. You know, they have bodhisattvas, they have rishis, chiranjeevis, all these different planes of existence. But underlying all of that, what is the truth? And it says empty of other. And the Shentong school was outlawed by the Gelug school. It's against the Dalai Lama's teachings. It's against Theravada, even though they don't debate Theravadins, because Theravadins don't, they're smart enough to not attack other things and then leave other people to discover that for themselves. So it's not that knowledge isn't available in the Pali Canon. It is. It says the Buddha understands all these things, because the Buddha was saying, I understand all that. I just want to know what the problem is with morality. Can you just have right action and right livelihood? Because all the phenomenology, all the mystical powers, they're kind of like peripheral stuff. But the truth is empty of other. You know, the truth is, it includes morality. And in fact, if you don't have morality, then you don't have integrity, then you have nothing. Disintegrated. And then you have samsara. And that which appears as samsara is nirvana to one who understands this. And that's what's been said by the Buddhas. Do what is good, not what is evil. Dhammapada.
And how many principles did you need for that?
Undefined. 0 with the strike through it.
Apparently we're of our father the devil, and we're speaking gibberish at best. Which is funny, Christ Terry, because last time I checked, your dead rabbi on a stick went around promising people crowns and mansions in his father's kingdom, literally promising people imaginary real estate. That's gibberish. The one thing he never said was do the right thing because it's the right thing. Jesus never said that.
It's not in the book. Read it. We've read it cover to cover. Thrice.
Do the right thing because you'll get a mansion in some fictitious place that doesn't exist. It's nonsense.
He's like,
put that in your dreidel pot.
No, man, I'm Buddhist. My name's Chris Terry, not Christ. What are you guys talking about? No, I think we know who that is.
It's 7689, obviously.
Yeah.
I gotta put my G first, and then my 689, and then I have to say, right. We know who that is. What up, Vivek? Come on, show your face. Come on. Second half. Oh, you're teaching rhetoric, right?
Okay, what is wrong with rhetoric? Like, even if one were to accept your
see how when you talk about Buddhism, Christ Terry gets all spurging out.
Yeah, but
it's almost like 7689 is something that somebody would write. Like almost like I spent hours talking to this person and kind of just.
You sound like
so
whoa. You're sounding
I
crazy.
would just like to point out the definition of rhetoric. Rhetoric, the art of effective or persuasive speaking or writing, especially the use of figure of speech and other compositional techniques.
Look at Terry's screen name. It has a T in the middle, 4 letters on each side before the number. So it's a 9-letter word with a T in the middle and an out-of-sequence number with 7.
You are using rhetoric. You mean I'm trying to
Look
convey
at, then the dude
what I
does
want
6,
to say
7.
in a clear and effective manner? Yes, I am. Shocking.
You're being totally truthful. That's why none of you clown shoes will show your face.
Like, rhetoric is not good or bad. It's just a linguistic tool. Anything else?
Just like you. Where's your tools, guys? Let's see your tools. Bring them on camera. Come on. Show us your pie hole. Come on. Open your mouth. Come on up here. Debase yourself. We can do thrice great Yiddish backflips. Come on. You can't beat us. We'll forgive you for something you did yesterday. By next week, if you're lucky.
I wonder if he even knows that we're not into the Kybalion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he knows. That's why he's here. Because he saw Kybalion again.
Yeah, I think it's just that.
Which is bizarre.
And then when I brought up Buddhism, he couldn't hold it in anymore.
Yeah.
But even if that is actually Vivek, why would he be mad at us roasting the shit out of it? Like, we were not praising the book. We were making fun of it.
Oh, Christina has a good question. Okay, Darren, come back over something. Why does collapsing the wave structure mean there is a self? A conscious observer, Christina. So
do you want me to get into that?
Yeah,
I
please.
think that okay. So the Descartesian "I think therefore I am" is essentially a reductionist way of going inward and asking, what can I actually know to be absolutely true? And from there, for instance, technically, I don't know that I'm not having a coma dream or in some kind of Matrix-esque simulation right now. I might think that's highly unlikely, but I don't know it as an absolute fact. It's only highly likely that me sitting here on this show talking to Jeff, Alley, and Darren is real. Very, very highly likely, not absolute. When I start regressing back into what do I absolutely know, like, right? This body might not exist. This might be a hallucination. But if thoughts are occurring, then there has to be a thinker. And so, if you're thinking, there has to be a point from which those thoughts are being originated. And therefore, if you think, the thinker has to exist. So I think, therefore I am. So, in the same way as the observer causing the waveform to collapse in the quantum example there, in order for that to happen, there has to be an observer. Does that answer your question?
Prior to thought, there is consciousness, which is being.
So it's because it's
Well,
discernment, kind of. Yeah.
You're using your discernment to arrive at the that there is a self in that. Now the identity of that self can be different, but that really is telling you is there is a universal subject, and that is the Paramatman or the faculty of being itself. Technically non-being as well, because even when you're in deep sleep, you're conscious of nothing, but you know that you slept. That's why it's called Turiya, the fourth state. Wakefulness, dreaming, deep sleep. It's underlying. It's a substratum of all those. So, Tadeko Vishishta Shiva Kevaloham. I am that even in deep sleep when everything is removed. I am this conscious awareness. Yeah, exactly. Like Ramana Maharshi was great at that. Correct. Excellent, Puffy J.
In the Caucasus Mountains, you are a race people. Why would value the nonsense you're spewing?
He's assuming that a few hundred years exists, but what is time? Namamisha Mishana Nirvana Rupam Vibham Vyapakam Brahmaveda Swarupam Nijam Nirgunam Nirvikalpam Nireham Chidakasham Akashava Sambajeham Nirakara Monkara Mulam Turiyam Giragyana Goti Nisham Girisham. Okay, so Karalam Mahakala Kalam Kripalam means he who takes us across destroys time itself. He's beyond time. He's gunatita. He's beyond the modes of material nature. Our souls don't have an age, dude. So that's just a fallacy. It's just a fallacious statement. It's impossible to be true. Because you're saying that we were here a few hundred years ago as if 100 years exists within Atman.
Well, it's also a question of if someone is saying something that is true, would whether they learned it 10 minutes ago or 1,000 years ago change in any way whether or not the statement is true? Not one bit. The statement would be just as true. Completely meaningless point.
So Christ Terry is clearly has something against Caucasians. Is this a pattern?
And he's saying a few hundred, which is bizarre because like the Caucasians were already all the way through Europe over 1,000 years ago. What the hell are you talking about?
Aryana Manjunosmi. Among the Aryans, he was Arjuna. I mean,
you might want to get your history
noble
under your
people
belt
were
a
in
little
India
better
too,
there,
bro.
Terry.
Yeah.
I think you're mixing stuff up in your head.
Somebody's trigged. Hey, Christina gets it.
Kalabhairavam bhaje. Om.
Oh,
Ad hom.
Where
first,
people
I
were
got it.
knuckle crawling booty scratchers just before the Renaissance. Hey,
You're
it beats
waiting
being
for
a street shitter now.
So what's
That is
what's
a
the
cute way of
karma? What's
spelling
the
booty.
karma about that one, Terry? Tell us the karma of that statement.
I like scratching her booty.
What the hell?
Om
Booty
Prapri
spelled
Pram Saha
B-O-O-D-I-E.
Shanaishwaraya Namaha Om Ham Bam Sam Kalabhairavaya Swaha.
Preem.
Bhairava Kalikaye Namostute.
I mean, want to talk about a non sequitur right there. Okay, what about it?
Yeah. Darren's the king of high-speed information.
Matange cha vidmahe Shri Kameshwarye Dhimahi Tano Devi Prachodayat. Slow is
Did
fast.
the,
Fast is smooth. Tano Manda
Christina, did the idea of the fact that a thinker exists being the only thing you know for absolute certain make sense at least? I want to know if we actually expressed that clearly.
You know you exist because you're thinking about your existence. Existence exists. There is a thinker. There is a self. This is why Shankaracharya went so hard against the Buddhists, and he appreciated the things they were correct about, and he still didn't become a Buddhist himself because he couldn't lie about that. There is a self. Some people are really bent out of shape about it. Even though the Buddha never said there is no self. Show me where the Buddha said there was no self. You can't. You can't. He just said something that you identify isn't yourself. Duh. Universal subject is a self. He had a reason for teaching it the way he did because the existence of a self was being used for priestcraft and manipulating people into a predatory racket tax system, and people were making money off of ritual sacrifices and enslaving the people. But then some people decided to use Buddha Dharma that tells you that the nature of things is inside you. If you just quiet the mind, you can hold up a flower, and that was his greatest lecture, was just holding up a flower and smiling. Not why is flower, not what is flower, just the experience, the suchness, the experience of it. Tat tat ta. Suchness, tat. That is reality. That's what Brahman is known by in the Vedas. Tat. That. Tat tvamasi. You are that. But when you're taking in an object of perception, you lose yourself in the perception. So therefore, there is self and no self. Empty of other. It's either experience empty of other or self. So collapsed or uncollapsed wave function, on or off, black or white. Two sides of the coin.
Darren, what's your channel called? Someone's asking.
I don't have that much on my channel.
So it's still a place to collect people.
Just type in the Sovereign Cyborg Project on YouTube.
What's the icon? It's like a little monkey or something.
It's a cyborg with the word no on his face.
Oh.
On his forehead.
I mean, if they want, they could go to the dumpster dives we've done.
Yeah,
on
that's
this,
where my work is right now with Curtis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell him.
If you go to BitShooter Rumble and search Curtis Griffin 1928-47, you'll get to a channel I run where Darren and I have, for a relatively consistent period, and then we took a short break for a while, but we're getting back at it. We were doing a show we called New Age Dumpster Dive, where we just took like New Age grifter channels and we go through their videos and we cut them to ribbons. So
Quality show. Everyone should watch it.
we
Very
get a little
funny.
bit vitriolic and mean at times.
Darren's 5 times funnier when he goes over there.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to worry about getting anyone banned. So.
Yeah. It's a good one, dude. And then we'll take a 20-minute video and we'll make it a 2 or 3 hour episode because we have to pause about every 12 seconds.
5 seconds. Yeah, it's painful.
But we show you how fast they try to pull fast ones on you, though. We've even slowed them down to like quarter speed in order to show people like this is the subliminal thing here, 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 here. And then we pause it and then show that and then let a quarter second go by and point out other things. We literally do that on the one with
Car
World. Yeah,
yep.
About that cult. But what Christina asked, presence with something is to lose your sense of self. I don't know. It's to temporarily suspend it so you can engage with the experience. I wouldn't resolve it to an axiomatic expression across the board. But, you know, if I'm thinking about other things while I'm trying to eat an apple, I don't know, man. Like, basically, have you ever been thinking too much and just not been in the mood to have fun? And someone has to tell you, you're thinking too much. What are you thinking about? Be here now. Be here present. States of rapture or ecstasy, right? You can't get head when you're in your head and enjoy it very much. So it's not that you lose your sense of self, it's that if you have a self, don't be overly identified with it or you'll miss the magic.
All right, what do you think? Should we wrap it up? Do we feel
You
like
want to read some more? Or you want to wrap it up? What do we got? We got 2 hours. Oh,
we're done?
we finished it. Finis.
Ooh.
The end.
Big finale for the Kybalion.
Any final words
thoughts
you
on the
wanna-
Kybalion?
I mean, I feel like we put it to bed pretty well there, but you know.
Kybalion is new age bullshit.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh wait, let's see. What is it? I'll change the banner real quick. Where is it?
And we're not saying that because we haven't read it. We're saying it because we have.
Is Vivek still in the comments trying to LARP as a Christian?
Yeah.
Ew.
No, it's Christ Terry. It's not Vivek.
Oh,
The
yeah,
last
yeah.
thing is that the last-
Christ Terry Gand. Terry Gand me kira hai.
Lots of fish.
or something.
Yep.
Ooh. Oh boy.
He's really good at the tone scale. He gets lukewarm every time and then goes signs off. Then he spurgs out about 2 weeks later, sweating his balls off in his apartment. I had fever dreams about white people. Adam's family.
Oh, no.
In my dreams, it's still the same.
How is Adam's family an insult? Morticia was hot.
No, it was the young one too. Or it's the
I
one that's
wasn't
making
thinking about
movies
her.
about it.
Oh.
So next Sunday,
The Dream Warriors.
next Sunday we got this episode coming up.
Oh yeah.
We care about Mark.
Because ultimately, why do we talk so much about Mark? Because, well, at least at one point we cared.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Icy.
Well, he said that he doesn't have people to talk to, but we know this stuff, so we want him to be able to talk to us. Yet his so-called friends spend all their time insulating Mark from anyone who can actually comprehend the stuff he comprehends and also talk to him. And this is shown as in the documentary to have a negative effect on Mork.
Look at the comment.
Vivek, I believe you meant in a nutshell.
Didn't we just say that we can't control that?
No.
Maybe
we've
rewatch this.
Yeah, rewatch the show. We were making fun of people who believe the Kybalion.
Yeah,
because
that's
you
what I said
don't
earlier.
have the
Christ,
right to
Terry, I
control
put an ash cross on you.
Yeah.
They think
You know,
we think the Kybalion is cool.
If that is the claim you're making, you haven't listened to a single word that was said for this entire
That's literally
show.
what I said earlier. I don't think that they
non
think that
ambulante
anything is bad.
tenebris sed abebit lumen vitae. Sic delecti Deus mundum. Come on. Bless your heart.
Yeah, it's cute.
He's a nutshell. Leave
He's
him
a
alone.
nutshell.
He's just a nutshell.
He's just a
Mea
nutshell,
culpa, mea
guys.
culpa, mea maxima culpa.
That's too funny.
But yeah, we do care about Mark in a way because, again, like, just in terms of care, if you're out here trying to claim you're teaching morality and what you're teaching is the lema and other lies,
Yeah.
you're hurting people.
And maybe
They say, non facias malum et inde veniat bonum. Don't do evil so that good may come of it. Consequentialism is bullshit, Mark.
Yeah.
Look it up in
Lema.
Black's Law Dictionary. Do not do
Lema.
evil so that good may come of it. Non facias malum ut inde veniat bonum. Right there in Black's Law Dictionary. It's a Roman maxim.
Expose the bad.
Not in your fucking meat industry propaganda cult. You're gonna find out that you fucked with the wrong one, boy!
He's a warrior!
Fucking losers! You fucking losers! Fucking trash apes.
Aw.
There's a song for you. Baby diaper. Baby diaper.
That one's great.
Oh,
So random.
Baby diaper.
the inflection is hilarious.
Baby diaper?
Baby diaper.
We heal
for a roast chicken. You fucking losers!
No, he's he should do voiceover work and stuff. He's got a very strong voice.
You fucking losers! Here's a song for you.
Night, Christina.
You're gonna find out that you
Nanu.
If anything, that documentary did, it made Mark look soft.
Soft, peanut butter soft.
Soft.
Peanut butter mother.
Look at the size of that fucking bald spot.
Look at this inverted little black sun on my head.
Night, Christina.
Burned, yeah. Good night. It's burned into his head because of the tendencies. He wasn't wearing one. We didn't need to.
He wore one for so long that the sun burnt a dark spot into the back of his skull because he wore it for so.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's Saturn's fault, actually. I think we should be blaming Saturn about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because planets.
Because planets.
Yeah.
Animism. Hydrogen.
Allie and Mark should have a conversation.
And maybe, like,
Maybe.
No. I think if he hit any one of us up and was like, look, guys, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I can't trust anyone around me. Like, what do you think? Don't you think any one of us would, like, respond to him, like, and be, like,
absolutely,
look, man,
dude.
like, and not be
I
like,
had
oh,
an interaction with him face
Yeah,
to face.
no. Kayfabe.
Good.
Kayfabe. Say it, Darren.
He loves kayfabe.
Kayfabe. It's all been kayfabe.
It's all been kayfabe.
Say it
He
again.
never left Satanism. He hasn't done what he's done.
He's still a Satanist.
I would say that to his face.
But,
he
like,
didn't live
in
the
a
life he
way
claims to
that's,
have
like-
lived
like,
because he's still living it as a Satanist.
Yeah.
Wow.
But if he wants to not be one, come ask us. We'll tell you. And we won't hide it from you and we won't charge you money.
Yeah, we won't charge you money. And he would be like, it would be such a fucking weight off of his shoulders. Like, if he's genuinely having that hard of a time because he's just so
Dude,
miserable.
Mark,
with
you
the
don't
world,
have
like,
to be like, bro. Like, you're less of a Satanist than you think if you really believe in morality. But, bro,
right.
stop
That's what
hiding
I'm
from
saying.
people.
Yeah,
Stop
like you
hiding
need to,
from people who know this material and have not been teaching it for 20 years, but studying it all day, every day.
Mhm.
Yep.
So if you
Yep.
want some little pointers, you're really just off about a few things, mostly your disdain for the East, and pretty much you'll be all set.
like imagine.
Also,
Okay,
you're
in Masonry, when they pledge, do they pledge to the East or not, Mark? Are the Vedas not the
Vedas.
oldest scriptures that are
Yep.
closest to the truth?
Don't say
They
it
are.
to my
Where's that thing?
Mysterion though, because he'll get real mad.
Well,
Where's
yeah, it's
that
all from
get as angry
Ireland.
as he
thing?
likes.
Where's the image of the thing?
What thing?
The Freemason.
The compass and square.
Oh no, from the Mystic Mason.
That shows
Mystic
all the.
Masonry. You want me to pull that up?
Yeah, pull that
sure,
up.
that in the beginning of the book. There's
Yeah,
that
yeah, sure.
I was
Mystic-
surprised there was so much Essene stuff in there. The Essenes.
Yeah.
So that ties in with Christspiracy. In a nutshell, you guys believe you can control the universe through your minds.
I'm a nutshell. It's I'm a nutshell.
I'm a nutshell.
And actually, that's one of the things Mark needs to get out of his head.
Yeah. Nutshells.
His brain is
This one here. Okay. Let me pull up the image.
Too much testosterone, Mark. That's why you got that bald
Well,
spot.
here's the deal, dude. Manly P. Hall wrote all his stuff before he was ever initiated into Masonry. That's what got him the honorary 33rd degree. Did you guys know that? I know Mark said it in the show, and it is true that Manly P. Hall was not a Mason when he wrote The Lost Keys of Freemasonry or The Secret Teachings of All Ages.
Crazy.
So how did he know this?
Right.
He might have known himself.
Or he had someone feeding him information.
Not necessarily. He had all the information that was available, which in the early 1900s was a lot of information. And he went through it. And what's interesting is that they recognized that what he was saying was true, even if it's something that they had never taught in Masonry, which means that that truth was self-evident and preeminent.
Yeah, this thing's pretty rad.
So the old wisdom religion, science, philosophy, religion being one, and this is the lodge of the adepts. This is what they call Maharishis or Brahmarishis. These primordial sages, like before recorded time, before this physical manifestation of the universe even. Then you have the Vedas. Then you have Brahmanism and Buddhism, and then you have
Don't tell everyone what the Vedas are.
mystery schools. What is that?
Tell everyone what the Vedas are.
The Vedas are the
Like
scriptures.
they're 15.
Tell them what was that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I just missed it.
Oh, just explain them like we're 15 years old or 5 years old.
The Vedas are the foundational scriptures of Hinduism, and they're the oldest scriptures on Earth. And they actually predate the Earth itself. They're written in in Sanskrit, which is from the gods, basically.
What about
And
these people that think that the Norse stuff's older?
it's very similar, very, very closely related.
But it's not older, and
but
as someone
it's
who's
not
read
older,
a
but
lot of
it's-
that stuff, I can tell you it's not older.
Yeah, but it's but it is Indo-European in origin, hence, but it is not. The reason the Vedas are the oldest is because they weren't even written down. They're self-manifesting. The Vedas manifest themselves at the same time of the creation of the Hiranyagarbha, which is the golden egg. They're older than the physical manifestation of the universe.
Have you
Okay,
read
so
the
the Vin-
Eddas, Jeff?
What's that?
I was just asking if you've read the Eddas, like the Norse myths.
No.
Oh, okay.
I
That's a
just
whole
know some
rabbit
people.
hole.
Because every time
Yeah.
the universe is recreated, because Hinduism
Well-
believes in multiverses, the Vedas are existed in every single one.
What I wanted
there
to
are-
get into
Yeah.
quickly there is when you're reading them, you can actually see the evolutions and the changes in the times in the descriptions and things, even to the point where you've got like multiple tellings of the warrior Sigurd meeting his wife after slaying the dragon Fafnir, two different tellings of that, and then later on she becomes the Germanic mythology figure of Brunhild. Like
Right.
you see these different
Brunhilde,
stories
the
of
bright burning one. Hilda means Hilda is bright, and then Brun is like Brennan.
but you
Burn.
can when you're going through the Eddas, you can actually see them evolving and changing. As well as some of them just don't have anything to do with spirituality at all. Some of them are written by poets to be funny and entertaining, or
And
for
who is
political
doing a lot of the
goals.
editing of those things, Kurt?
Christian monks, yeah.
Every single time.
Every time, yeah, I know. Well, and that's like Odin isn't really the all-father either. When you're actually reading the Norse creation myth, first is the giant Ymir, and it never discusses how Ymir came into creation. He just is there, and that's where it starts off. And from there, Odin and his brothers Vili and Ve emerge, both all three at the same time, along with an endless flow of frost giants, and they decide they have to kill Ymir to stop the endless flow of frost giants from continuing to pour out, and then they create the world out of the corpse of Ymir. But Odin is not the first creation, and he isn't attributed with creating everything else either. That's a concept that Christian monks pushed onto him because they were uncomfortable with a system not having an all-powerful creator sky daddy.
Because then you don't have a special relationship and the authority to control people.
Right. There's also no point where the gods ever descend to humanity and give them a big stupid list of laws they need to follow. But
nailed it.
Yeah, there's a lot to go through there. But even on this chart, I'm a little uncomfortable with how everything's getting funneled down into Kabbalah. That's
hey man,
worrying.
a funnel stuff, you know. Just saying.
Yeah.
So the Vedas are Hindu and Buddhist early scriptures.
No, the Vedas are before Buddhism
Before
or
any of that.
Hinduism. It's just knowledge itself.
Got it.
Yeah. So the Vedas there's the Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Vedas, Chaturveda. There's 4, but those Vedas were received in meditation by rishis, which are those who see things. They're seers. Rishi coming from is related to the word rik, which is related to the word rita, which means cosmic order. So you have dharma, which is the way, but the dharma serves rita, and a rishi is one who observes or sees with his clear mind's eye rita, the divine order. So a seer is someone who understands the divine order, and then the Rig Veda is about that. It's about like how to act, and it's not about recreating rituals. It's about realizing, like with the Purusha Suktam, everything in this universe has a place, from the highest to the lowest. Everything is here for a reason, and everything, and even though we may not understand it, then you have the Nasadiya Sukta in the Rig Veda as well, which means never was it not. So it's showing the doctrine of Ajatavad, that there is no creator, because truth itself is unoriginated. Because if God is eternal, there can't be a point where things that are of him are not eternal as well. They may be going through different transformations, and transmutations, but ultimately, if they originate and resolve in the same source, then they are essentially, with orders of logic and infinitesimals, non-different. And since the most subtle thing is the soul, that is the substratum of reality, and that's accessed in meditation in the state of Turiya, the fourth, samadhi, mystic absorption. So basically, the Vedas are all possible knowledge. We have them because they've been written down in Sanskrit, but essentially the rishis knew more than what we have in the Vedas. The rishis know everything, actually. But they know everything because they are everything, because they know themselves. They're manasaputras. They're mind-born sons of deity. Daniel, ask yourself. Go and meditate about it.
Yeah.
We have a word for it. What is it? Are you real?
Dragons are just magic alligators. Misunderstood alligators. People seeing alligators and then drawing them after going on expeditions and drawing them all crazy and bigger and gnarlier than they actually are.
Every time you imagine something, it gets gnarlier. And every time you retell the story, it gets gnarlier.
Yep.
They're just really nice lizards.
Really nice lizards.
Also, if we've never seen one, does that make it not real?
Yes.
Mork.
Wait, if we've never seen one, does it?
I've never seen my soul,
real?
though, so I don't know if I have one. Maybe we should
Ooh,
start a
I'd like to
scientism cult
experience dragon
and
energy.
acquire resources.
Now, if you didn't see the dragon, how do you know it was a dragon's energy you experienced?
What if it's an invisible dragon? Because the north node and the south node of the zodiac in the Vedic system are a dragon.
But if it's an invisible dragon, how do you not know that it's an invisible other entity? Because it's invisible. How do you
Dragons
know what
can
it is?
shapeshift, dude.
I mean, how do you know it's
They're
not an
reptilian.
invisible gray alien?
They're the original reptilians.
Is not being real a real thing?
Will?
Is not being real a real thing?
Is
What is
blocking
the reality
people
of
a
unreality?
pattern? Will?
Okay, Daniel, well, you've experienced their energy. Good job. So, thanks for asking us a very relevant question.
Beautiful people, not just girls, but, you know, the fellas as well.
Anything's real if you tell yourself it's real.
I'm not bisexual,
Remember?
but, you know, I'm not bisexual, but, you know, beautiful people, not just girls, but, you know, the fellas as well.
Oh.
Yeah,
Trust
he's
me, bro.
not bisexual. He's just gay. That's all.
He said it. He's not bi.
That's why he wasn't looking at the girls.
What
you know?
happened? What happened to Derek B? Where the fuck has that guy been?
Dude,
Haven't
remember
seen him in
he's
months.
always looking like he's in a high chair with the older ladies feeding him?
Yeah, what's with the shirtless
Like
thing?
a little bobblehead?
Oh my god.
I'm so happy though.
He hasn't been on Chris Nelson's show in a long time.
It's
Okay,
these
but
overbearing mothers babifying these men.
Isn't that a good thing? At least then he's not spouting nonsense about Metatronic reversals and the Fibonacci.
Things are very different with the fools this year. They are not as loud as they were last year, that's for sure.
Maybe they're doing some shadow work.
I doubt it.
I hope they are doing some shadow work. Yeah. But yeah, they are not around as much and they are not as confident when they are. I mean, Jesus, look at Jerry. Jerry was dancing around and dancing around, and yeah, she'd be on the live stream in her band, and she's all happy and getting all this attention. Things have changed.
It's all fun and games until we say something's not real, and then we get death threats.
Yep. Oh, but she was just joking. She said, "Remember?"
Oh yeah,
I called
that's
her
what
out in the
everyone
chat for
says
that.
after
She was
they
all, I was
act out of
joking.
line.
You know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Schrodinger's
right.
joke.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunday will be.
Isn't
a
that
very
what
good
abusive
episode.
people say when after they hurt someone's feelings and they get called out? They say it was just a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like one of those like red flags. You're dating a narcissist.
Psychopath.
I was just. I'm sorry you. Wait. I'm sorry you. I didn't mean for you to misperceive what I said.
I'm sorry you feel that
Oh,
way.
Shout out to Christina.
I'm sorry you feel that way when they do something deliberately to hurt you.
I
Yeah,
sometimes
sorry.
use that when I'm
unhinged.
trying to
Sorry you
drive
felt
home
that
that I
wrong
meant
way.
to hurt someone.
Well,
like,
yeah, it
"Hey,
depends.
fuck you, man. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Right. No, but they'll be like, yeah, but you ripped me off. I'm sorry you feel upset about that. It's like, you know.
It wasn't my intention to make you feel upset. That's your choice. You're choosing to feel upset. It's like you
Right.
just robbed me.
Exactly. That's the people like they always
yeah.
have to maintain their composure even when they're gaslighting you. But when you get to them, when you get under their skin, you get a little chink in the armor there. They don't know how to. Then they're quiet for a year.
Nope.
Then they leave the group.
Yeah. Then they peace out. Then rage quitting is the only option.
I have them.
I have them blocked.
Yep. Then the shekels start to dwindle a little bit, and you have the worst year of your life.
He's making more money than probably. I mean, I don't know how much money he was making before, but he made a lot of money this year. So
Yeah, but now he
I don't
doesn't
why
know
that would
about the
make him
future.
unhappy.
He's always speculating about the future, but here's the problem. The worst the people aren't learning from the How to Become the True Media class, and the Shadow Work seminar was a dumpster fire. So now
The how
he's
to-
got to improve the quality of himself so that the class can be better, and he doesn't know how to do that.
He raised the price of the how to become the true media, $130 more.
But remember, if 425
$750 now.
people are on there, some people are scholarshiped in.
I have them blocked.
Yeah. But
And then how
according
many
to
of
them, they aren't
those?
scholarshiping anyone in.
Well,
have them
people on the
blocked.
network are scholarshiped in.
I
Oh,
have
that's
them
right.
blocked.
Yeah, but you don't see them in there. There's
only
very
one or
few
two of
network
them
people
is
in
dumb
there.
enough to want to be on the network afterwards. So that means out of every How to Become the True Media class, people see his little infomercial on his grifter friend Alex Jones's channel, and then 2 or 3 people get onboarded to the one great grotto, and there's other 398 non-cult members who go, well, that was gay.
Dude, the last 2 people on the network were Jerry and Derek B.
I have them blocked.
There you go.
Like,
There you go. And then there's 398 people who are like scratching their heads on why they wasted their time and money.
I have them blocked.
we know, Will. God.
Well, and if they're talking about that, that is going to drive away business over time, hopefully.
They might even come to VGT.
Yeah. Hell, if a bunch of people who signed up for that shadow work course and were upset wanted to come on VGT and talk about their experience, would you host that, Jeff?
We got them all. We got like 15 new people into the group, and they all pieced out in the last week.
Okay.
Like Jerry went around.
Well,
and
some
talked
of
to
them are
every single one of
curious
them and
about
was
it,
like,
and
"You
they
need
got to
not
report
follow
back
him."
to her, and then they know that we're so based that they can't even convince us otherwise. And then there's like 2 people of the 15 that joined who are serious, and then they're still in the group.
What's his name? Raybon. He wasn't there tonight, which was weird.
I think he was just busy.
Timothy Raybon, he says he's been like at bat for us over there the whole
Yeah.
time since we got kicked out.
But they're gonna eventually, yeah, I know. It's like the other people who respect us, but they can't get them to, because ultimately,
I have
it's all
them both.
about Mork. Like Scott knows we're cool and we're right. That's why he hangs out here. But when
Yeah, like you
if
said, stick around.
the moment you made that one with Mark driving the bus,
That
asleep
was
at the
peak.
wheel, he had to come there and do damage control and then blame his buddy Corey Enderlot.
Yeah, he's been
Throw his
pointing the finger at
minion
Corey
under
for
the
a long
bus
time.
to protect Master Blaster. Mork.
Yeah.
Trying to be our handler.
Who run network?
It's pretty whack, bro.
Who run network down? Master Blaster run network down.
Yeah. Stupid ass motherfucking vegan therapy. Your whole fucking live stream is mediocre at best.
In 2008.
I mean,
Things were
consider
quite
the level of consciousness that criticism's coming from.
Yeah,
Mediocre at
pretty
best
bad.
is still miles
That's
above
the level of
whatever
consciousness that gets you on the One Great Mork network.
One Great Mork network, yeah.
Could someone explain
Nanny,
the
nanny.
multiverse, please?
No.
No.
Just listen here. I'll type in something here, but no one can. I mean, it even says that. But look this up. Nasa Dia Suktam of the Rig Veda.
No.
And then there's lyrics on screen that are the translation into English. You can look that up on YouTube. And that's about the best way.
And more importantly, even if someone did explain that to you, what would you do with that information? What actual good in the world could you do once you were told that?
Good question.
I
Not
could
a
say
damn
one
thing,
thing.
right?
You can reflect on it, realize that you are still here now, and then realize that despite what's going on outside of you, that as part of this, as a microcosm, you just got to do the right thing according to your time, place, and circumstance, and your nature, because that's multiverse is just it's not under your control. But realize that there are certain things outside of your control that will control you, whether you decide to control yourself or not. That is one thing. That is the proper perspective. That's drishti. That's the right point of view. And then with the Mundaka Upanishad, you have the Ekarshi Yagya, the one seer sacrifice, and that's from Shirovrata, the offering of the head, or the vow of the head, or holding fire on the head. And what you got to do is you got to want truth more than you want anything, including life itself. And then you may get a glimpse into the eye of the eye, which is Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivartanam Uvrukamiva Bandhanan Mrityarmokshiyam Amritat. Om, the one with three eyes. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. We're worshiping thee along the path of grace. Sugandhim Pushtivartanam, inhaling the sweet incense. Uvarukamiva, and as a cucumber or as a vegetable is plucked from the vine, save us from death by the nectar of immortality. Mrityarmokshiyam Amritat. Amrita is the nectar. The nectar of immortality is knowledge of self, and the third eye is symbolic of Shiva's knowledge of self. Bum Shiva.
Bum. Sick. There it is.
Stop being a little baby. It's pretty whack, bro.
Yeah, so next Sunday, this is going to be a fun episode. Things have changed. Yeah. I guess see you guys next week. Thanks for coming by. Shout out your show again.
Oh yeah, we do New Age Dumpster Dive on BitChute and Rumble. You should be able to find us if you search that.
Must watch show, everybody. All right, guys. See you later.
Peace.
Peas.
Cheers to the people who did wake up and activate and become peers in the great work. Nothing but admiration and thanks. And this forced shadow work has not been for you. It has been for those who did not respond to the fucking call of freedom. And you guys already know that. I don't even need to repeat that. But I will say with my Vienna lager here, cheers to the people who really did the great work. The ones who really activated, the ones who spoke out, the ones who put the message of freedom publicly out into the world through the creation, the creative expression that came from within themselves to publish and communicate it to those in need of that knowledge. You're my brothers and sisters, and you're my peers in the great work, and thank you.